Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished participants and colleagues. Welcome today to today's critical session at the Spanish Pavilion at COP30. We welcome those of you who are here live and with us in person, and we also welcome those who are joining us remotely. We are expecting a large crowd. The name of this session is From Madrid to Belém, Advancing Water Resilience through the 2025 High-Level Leaders Compact. My name is John Matthews. I'm the Executive Director for AGUA, the Alliance for Global Water Adaptation. And I have the great honor of moderating this important dialogue today. The session is convened by three parties. Of course, the government of Spain and the Sanitation and Water for All, SWA, and of course AGUA. This session builds directly on the momentum from the recently concluded Sanitation and Water for All Sector Ministers Meeting, the SMM, that was held in Madrid last month, where governments, partners, and stakeholders launched the High-Level Leaders Compact on water security and resilience. This compact represents a landmark political commitment to accelerate universal access to climate-resilient water and sanitation services, being recognized as fundamental human rights. The compact aligns closely with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the SDG goals, the Paris Agreement's Global Stocktake, the GST, and the Global Goal on Adaptation, the GGA. The compact is about breaking silos, bringing new ideas to WASH, increasing access with resilience, and opening up this dialogue to the climate community and to implementing in countries. At COP30 here in Belém, we have a pivotal opportunity to translate this compact into concrete national and global actions to integrate water resilience into national adaptation plans, mobilize innovative financing, and promote accountability. The compact is about changing the lives of people who face fundamental health and livelihood challenges. Indeed, the compact is about improving the dignity, health, and lives of people you passed on your way to COP this morning here in Belém. In this session, we begin with a high-level keynote address and then showcase the compact's shared vision and core commitments. I've been told that we have 27 government endorsements, with 23 agencies and grassroots networks adding their voice to the compact. It's a very impressive coalition that's been built, but we expect it to keep growing. Then we'll have a panel discussion. We have an excellent lineup, and we'll bring you all up at once. Then we'll end with some closing remarks from myself. Let's begin. I would like to invite our keynote speakers to share their insights. First, it is my honor to introduce Her Excellency Ms. Michelle Bachelet, a former president of Chile, a distinguished member of the Sanitation and Water for All Global Leadership Council, and vice president of the Club de Madrid, the Club of Madrid. Madame.
Excellencies, esteemed partners, honorable guests, dear friends. We meet here in Belém at a pivotal moment. COP30 marks not only a milestone in our collective journey under the Paris Agreement, but also a historic opportunity taking place for the first time in the Amazon, a region that embodies both the fragility and the resilience of our planet. Just weeks ago, in Madrid, ministers and leaders from around the world gathered for the 2025 Sectors Ministers Meeting, hosted by the government of Spain, co-convened by the Sanitation and Water for All Partnership, SWA, and UNICEF. The meeting fostered high-level dialogue, uniting political leaders to break silos and integrate water, sanitation, and climate action, recognizing that progress in one depends on progress in all. The Madrid meeting was a call to action for collaboration and shared purpose over competing interests. In a world facing overlapping crises from climate disruption and economic instability to widening inequalities, it urged stronger political leadership, transformative reforms, and sustainable financing to realize the human rights to water and sanitation for all. At this crucial gathering, ministers launched a landmark political declaration, the High-Level Leaders Compact on Water Security and Resilience. The compact is a shared vision and an enduring framework for action. It is a political pledge endorsed by 26 countries and 16 organizations so far, with more joining. Together, ministers and partners commit to accelerating universal access to climate-resilient water and sanitation, and to strengthening sustainable water management, aligned with the 2030 Agenda, the Paris Agreement, and the Global Goal on Adaptation. Water is the primary channel through which climate impacts are felt, through floods and droughts, damage to ecosystems and food systems, displacement and loss of livelihood, but also sort of wars between herders and farmers because there's scarcity of water. The World Bank warns that climate change could push more than 100 million people back into extreme poverty by 2030. These realities remind us that water is not only a climate issue, it's a development, equity, and human security issue, as well as human rights issue. The compact exposes a harsh reality. Over 2 billion people still lack safely managed drinking water, and over 3.5 billion lack safe sanitation. And these are not abstract numbers. They represent mothers, fathers, and children facing daily hardships. Women and girls, often caregivers and water bearers, carry the greatest burden. Addressing this inequality is both a moral duty and essential for resilience, peace, and shared prosperity. In Madrid, leaders stressed that fragmented policies and short-term thinking can no longer guide us. Water security underpins health, education, gender equality, and economic growth. The compact calls for institutional reform, innovation in service delivery, and national systems capable of withstanding future shocks. It urges integrating water and sanitation into national adaptation plans, national determined contribution, NDCs, and development strategies. It highlights inclusive governance, gender-responsive approaches, the meaningful participation of indigenous peoples and local communities, and the need for sustainable, innovative financing. Most importantly, the compact is a living political instrument, guiding collective efforts towards the 2026 UN Water Conference, and beyond, strengthening accountability through platforms such as the Sanitation and Water for All Mutual Accountability Mechanism, which promotes transparency and collaboration by helping governments and partners regularly review progress, share commitments, and hold each other accountable for results. Here today, at COP30, our task is to carry the spirit of Madrid forward, from commitment to implementation. We stand at a political and practical bridge connecting the Baku dialogue on water and climate action, the Madrid ministerial meeting, and the upcoming UN Water Conference in 2026. Together, these efforts must converge into a coherent global agenda uniting political action on water, sanitation, and climate. At the Club de Madrid, I don't know if all of you know what the Club de Madrid is, but it's the world's largest forum of democratic former presidents and prime ministers. We do share this commitment that the leaders have addressed and stated. We work to strengthen resilient democracies where governments effectively respond to people's needs and where protecting access to water and health is essential to caring for both citizens and democracy itself. Achieving climate goals without addressing water and sanitation is impossible. And the reverse is also true. Without ambitious climate action, we cannot secure water for all. Integrating water into the climate agenda is not optional, it is an imperative. This demands a leadership that looks beyond sectors and election cycles, listens to science, empower communities, and acts with urgency and solidarity. So let us ensure that what began in Madrid becomes here in Belém a catalyst for real transformation, turning commitments into investments and political will into lasting change. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much. Those were inspiring comments. We're really grateful to have heard your words, Your Excellency. I'd like to now turn to the second keynote that we have from Mr. Anton Leis, the Director for the Spanish Agency for International Development Cooperation. He'll provide a high-level perspective on Spain's role in hosting the Sevilla Conference on Financing for Development and the Sanitation and Water for All Sector Ministers meeting, including important connections to the EU Water Resilience Strategy and Spanish cooperation on water and resilience more generally. Sir.
Muito bom dia a todos e a todas. Welcome to the Spanish Pavilion. It is a pleasure to be here. It's always our Ministry of Ecological Transition is so kind to invite us to host one of the first events here, and it's great to do it in partnership with Agua and with Sanitation and Water for All, that are close partners of Spain and Spanish development cooperation in what we do in the water sector, and more on climate and climate adaptation and resilience. It's always a pleasure, Presidenta Bachelet, to have you with us. We see you very often, and that's always a pleasure in listening to you, your experience and your vision on how to integrate the different agendas. We are talking today about water, but as the President mentioned, water is not just about SDG 6, it's pretty much about all SDGs, and it's a lot about climate adaptation and resilience. I don't need to tell you where we stand with multilateralism, with the questioning of the founding principles of international law, of global solidarity, and multilateralism as a method to find solutions or at least address global challenges. Spain is a country that is firmly committed to those values. Unlike others, we continue increasing our development cooperation policies because we see them as a powerful investment in a common future for everyone. We do not think this is a zero-sum game. It's actually the opposite, investing in the human rights to water and sanitation that we have espoused and supported from the very beginning, the early stages in the UN General Assembly. We think investing in climate adaptation and resilience is good for everyone, not just for the most vulnerable communities. This is the COP where indigenous peoples have been invited for the first time in their own right. There's more than 400 of them in the Blue Zone, and yesterday we visited the Aldeia COP, where they are all gathering as a key actor, because 80% of the world's biodiversity, it's in their land. They are custodians of it. They need to be part of the solution. So these values are being challenged. It is important that we stand by those values and we reaffirm them. That is what we had an opportunity to do in Sevilla with the Compromiso de Sevilla, which has this tricky translation into English or French. We always say it's not a compromise. A few compromises were made. It is a commitment. It's actually a step forward in terms of ambition on redesigning the financing architecture. I don't need to tell you about the figures. It's 4 trillion every year that we have in funding gap for the SDGs, massive investment gaps also in water and in particular in sanitation. Let's also be clear, we have made progress collectively. That's also what some of these people that are questioning global solidarity and cooperation are denying, but we have done massive progress, and this region, Latin America and the Caribbean, has made massive progress in giving people access to water. Let's face it, on sanitation, the progress has been slower, and we have major challenges in rural communities, in peri-urban areas, or in areas like the Amazon that, of course, it's one of the world's most biodiverse treasures that we have, but it's an area with cities, an area that deserves a path to sustainable development. So we stand here in Brazil as a connection between Spain, and the president mentioned Sevilla and mentioned Madrid as well. The high-level meeting that we had with ministers of water from all over the world, where they've done something that is very important at this moment, which is to break silos. We had the water people and the climate people starting to talk together. That conversation a few years ago would have been maybe not possible, but today is absolutely indispensable. This Brazil, the present where we are today, in Belém, needs to be the COP of implementation and the COP of climate adaptation. Let's face it, climate adaptation has been the forgotten child of the global climate agenda for quite too long. As a development agency, it's a cause that we feel very strongly about because we are working with countries that have been, they bear little responsibility for the problem. So whatever we can do with them on climate mitigation is of course important. And there is an opportunity with clean energies becoming cheaper to make sustainable investments in countries like Brazil or in Africa, but Africa is only responsible for 4% of global emissions. Yet every year we are seeing climate disasters having an impact on economic growth to the tune to 4% in the continent. And in this region we are seeing also climate disasters. As we speak, we have a team, our field hospital, we are also a humanitarian agency deployed in Jamaica, providing access to health to communities in an upper middle income country, but that has suffered massive losses from something that it is preventable, it is predictable, and certainly we need to respond to it. But we all know that an investment in climate adaptation, $1 or €1 spent on it, can save up to $10 or €10 in disaster response in humanitarian aid. In a system, the humanitarian system that is already overwhelmed with man-made, of course climate change is man-made, no matter what we hear in social media sometimes, but it's a system that is already overwhelmed with conflict in so many parts of the world. We need to remove, to the extent we can, those emergency responses from the paycheck of the humanitarian system and put it where it belongs, on adaptation investments, and that includes water. So what do we need? And I think that President Bachelet mentioned a few of those points, but we need policies. We need to break those silos, and that is why the declaration in Madrid is so important. We need to make sure that the water and sanitation sectors are climate resilient, climate responsive, climate adapted. What that means, our colleagues in sanitation and water for all are actually working on it. We have the Baku to Belém roadmap. We need to find 1.3 trillion euros of investment in climate and in climate adaptation in particular. We need partnerships for that. So we need the policies, we need those partnerships, and we have representatives here of international organizations, of the private sector, of civil society. None of us is big enough to tackle the challenge and to cover the investment gap. And of course we need finance and financial instruments. And we have, of course, very innovative ones. We are working with multilateral development banks. With just 2 million of Spanish taxpayer money, we have been able to mobilize up to 2 billion in Amazon bonds to provide for the sustainable development of this crucial region, including on water resources. Just yesterday we announced with the Inter-American Development Bank 6 more million of Spanish grants to finance water and sanitation, particularly targeting the Amazon region. But we need to go beyond that, and we have a very powerful instrument that we have developed over the last 15 years, which is the Spanish Fund for Cooperation in Water in Latin America, and the results are truly impressive. It's true, it's been going on for quite a while, but we have directly benefited 4.6 million people in this continent that have received access to water and sanitation. Initially working in urban and peri-urban areas, more and more working in rural areas, where the big challenge is. And we have mobilized with 800 million of grants. We have mobilized twice as much with credits, loans, from the Inter-American Development Bank, and very crucially, counterpart funding from our partners in the region. So we need all of this. We need the policies. We need the partnerships. So we need all of you. We need the financing. But very importantly, we need the political leadership. That, I think, is what this COP is about, and that is why we are so grateful to our Brazilian friends for convening us, for making this a COP of ambition, but ambition that is geared to implementation. That is also what we try to achieve in Sevilla on a broader scale on financing for development. But let's all hope that from Belém we come out with the right policies, with concrete commitments on investments, with new partnerships, but particularly with this political will that we need more than ever. Thank you very much, and let's hope to have a productive meeting today. Thank you.
Very inspiring comments from both of our keynotes. I'd like to do a quick check-in. Can everyone hear all right? Yeah, if you're having difficulty hearing, there are headphones that are over here that you can also get as well that might be able to help. All the panelists will have headphones when you come up, so you don't need to get extra ones. I'd like to now turn to exploring what in a sense is the meat of this session, really focusing on the compact itself and its outcomes and the expectations for it. I'm going to turn now to Anjani Kapoor. She's the head of Policy and Strategy for Sanitation and Water for All. The floor is yours.
Thank you, John. Dear Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues and partners. First, thank you to the Brazilian COP30 presidency and the government of Spain for hosting this event, and our co-convener, Agua. This dialogue comes at a crucial moment for global water and sanitation community. Just last month, as you've heard, at the 2025 Sector Ministers meeting in Madrid, also hosted by the government of Spain and co-convened by Sanitation and Water for All Partnership and UNICEF, the High-Level Leaders Compact on Water Security and Resilience was launched. With endorsements from 27 countries and 23 partners, just in a span of a couple of weeks, this compact reflects our shared determination to strengthen water security, sanitation, and climate resilience by breaking down the sectoral silos that have held back progress for far too long. The compact begins by confronting the scale of the challenge we are facing. More than 2 billion people do not have access to safe water, and 3.4 billion people lack safely managed sanitation. These are daily barriers to health, education, and economic growth and stability. At the same time, climate change is exacerbating these vulnerabilities. Rising temperatures, shifting rainfall patterns, sea level rise, and extreme weather events are disrupting the water supply, damaging the infrastructure, and placing communities and ecosystems under increasing strain. In this context, water security and resilience are not just peripheral concerns, they are the backbone of climate adaptation and resilience. There are 3 areas where Compact strongly resonates with the priorities that we will be discussing in the panel today, and that where Sanitation and Water for All Partnership believes we have an opportunity to accelerate, especially with the implementation agenda high on the radar of the COP30 presidency. The first concerns policy and institutional integration. The Compact urges the countries to embed water and sanitation in their national development strategies and climate plans, including the NDCs and NAPs. The second area centers around inclusion and human rights. The Compact reaffirms the human rights to water and sanitation and urges the countries to use disaggregated data to understand who even is left behind. It also stresses the importance of community participation, social accountability, and gender-responsive approaches. And third, and the most important of it all, is the financing. The Compact recognizes that achieving climate-resilient water, sanitation, and hygiene services requires sustained and predictable investments. So I'll ask my colleagues to play the video now to understand who all have endorsed. Please, Jose, thank you. when technology works, right, it does wonders. Thank you so much, the Jose and technical team there. So you're seeing the decisive leadership from the governments and from the organizations, including the previous COP presidency, Azerbaijan, and the current COP30 presidency, Brazil. Thank you so much for that. And before I wrap up, excellencies and colleagues, practitioners are ready. Communities are ready. Ministers have shown that they are ready. What we need now is continued high-level political commitment and financial signals to accelerate implementation and make resilience real with SDG 6 review and the UN Water Conference next year. Thank you, and back to you, John.
Thank you, Anjani. I'd like to now invite the panel members to come to the front, please. If you could come sit at the front, please. Yep, yeah, please. Just as our panel gets situated, I'd like to actually follow up on one of the points that Mr. Lais made about the COP process. I first started coming to COPs in 2009. That was the Copenhagen COP. And the largest delegation in Copenhagen was Brazil. It was also under President da Silva that year. And the delegation from Brazil was 600 people. It was a massive number of people who came. One person in that delegation was focused on water. 1 out of 600. I wouldn't say that it's reversed, but it's getting close. And I think that's a very powerful statement for the kind of transition that we've seen over the past 16 years in the COP process, where adaptation has become more important, and as soon as we talk about adaptation, we have to talk about water. And that's the point here for this panel. I'm going to start with the director. He's going to be, I'll ask him a question in English. Although he's from Brazil, he will be speaking in Spanish to a colleague who will do the translation for him. He's Director Nelson Friestrich, the Minister of Integration and Rural Development. Then the question for you is, Brazil has endorsed this compact that we've just heard about.
Bom, eu vou pedir excusas, meu inglês não é bom. E vou falar pouquinho em espanhol, pero tenho el São José comigo, por favor, que vai ser la translate, ok? Agradecemos muito a oportunidade.
To thank you for the opportunity.
E é momento muito importante porque a COP, com o objetivo de ação, dialoga extraordinariamente com Madrid e com o pacto realizado. O diálogo é muito intenso e fértil.
So he says that Brazil is committed to the compact in Madrid, and this is a very important moment to explain it. Hello? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so he was just saying that Brazil is committed to the compact that it was signed in Madrid, that is being presented right now, and that this is a very opportune moment at COP30 to continue talking about it.
Estou respondendo pela diretoria de revitalização de bacia hidrográfica do governo Lula, do ministro Valdez, que o secretário de segurança hídrica está a caminho, mas está muito difícil o trânsito, por isso que estou aqui, tentando substituí-lo, tentando.
So he says that he apologizes because the Secretary of State is on his way, but unfortunately didn't make it on time to the event.
Nesse minuto a mais, compreender de que estamos muito conscientes do grande papel que temos no Brasil para a questão do saneamento, da água, da inclusão tecnológica, da segurança hídrica e da justiça hídrica.
So he says that Brazil is fully committed to water and sanitation access through innovation and financing. Yeah.
E dois programas desse momento já foram apresentados aqui, que estão em andamento. Primeiro, que é um grande pacto, que é um plano de aceleração da governança da água.
So the first one is a great pact to accelerate water access.
Eu fui constituinte e no Brasil a Constituição estabelece a democratização, a descentralização e, portanto, a gestão compartilhada.
So he's making emphasis on decentralization, democratization of access.
Comitê gestor, são mais de quase 300 comitês gestor de cuencas, de bacias hidrográficas. Os comitês de cuencas hidrográficas, de mais de 280 que temos acá. Pero um Conselho Nacional de Recursos Hídricos, Conselho Nacional, que tem poder deliberativo, não só consultivo.
I'm not a translator, as you could figure out. So I'm doing my best. So he was mentioning that there are 300 committees, water set committees in Brazil, that there is a national council, and that there is, I missed the last part, I'm sorry.
E compreendendo que governança é muito mais que governo.
Governance is much more than the government itself.
E é necessário a instância participativa permanente, pero com postura permanente e não eventual.
So he's making emphasis on the constant participation, not just punctual participation.
E completo
In decision making.
outro plano de aceleração, que é trabalhar especialmente com comunidades vulneráveis, pequenas comunidades que estão com um problema pesado de água.
So he says that this acceleration plan is thought through to work with the most vulnerable communities bottom up.
E isso implica em um arranjo produtivo e um arranjo de acesso à água local.
And that's an arrangement to make local water accessible.
E com destaque, estimulamos muito a gestão feminina da mulher, porque é muito importante compreender a água feminina, a mulher, a agricultura, a vida.
So it's the empowerment of women in water management because of the role they play linked to health, but also agriculture, etc.
O importante é a conclusão. Queremos estabelecer o máximo possível de intercâmbios, de cooperação entre nossos países e nossas regiões.
So the conclusion is that he wants to emphasize the exchange among communities and exchange among the countries in the region.
E por isso a conclusão é de que estamos abertos para trocar experiências.
So Brazil is open to exchange ideas and experiences with other countries.
E acima de tudo, ao concluir, transformar COP30 em a verdade das ações implica em principalmente fazer o local, mas o local fazer o global.
So the emphasis of COP30 therefore is to make the local the global reality and not the other way around.
E a última palavra é uma homenagem a Michelle, que está aqui entre nós, uma das mais importantes figuras da América Latina. Oxalá possa galgar outros espaços do planeta Terra. Muito obrigado pelo presente que Chile nos dá na sua pessoa. É a latino-americana, a mulher latino-americana.
And the final words were to recognize the presence of President Michelle Bachelet because of the leadership and the role that she's played in the continent. She's the female of the continent. She's the female image of the continent.
E viva a integração dos povos.
And go for the integration of the poor.
Very warm words, very positive words, and really talking ultimately about the alignment of this opportunity between the compact and Brazil's hosting of the COP process itself, and bringing these issues together. I'd like to now turn to my colleague and friend, Ana Paula Fiorese, with the National Water Agency of Brazil. Ana, please. My question for you, Ana, is institutional coordination is key to integrating water security and climate adaptation. How would Ana embed the Compact's priorities into Brazil's national water management strategies, including NAP or the NDC? Also, can you talk a little bit about the role of the tracker, maybe, in how you view the alignment between water priorities and climate priorities?
Okay. Thank you, John. First of all, thank you, everybody, for being here. My greetings for the two keynote speakers, to my fellow panelists, and for this audience that is here facing this calor terrible. It's really hot, but thank you for bearing with us. And I want to thank John and the Alliance for the Global Water Adaptation, which is a partner since 2023 and is helping us build better adaptation and build water resilience in Brazilian plans, in Brazilian water management. So I'm going to read because I tend to talk too much when I'm passionate about the subject, and I promise I didn't, it was a surprise question. Yeah, no one, yeah, okay. So, first of all, we strongly share one of the key messages of the High-Level Leaders Compact on water security and resilience, which is water must be at the heart of climate policy. At ANA, we are working to make this real, especially through the first two commitments of the Compact, bringing policies and institutions together and ensuring inclusive, rights-based access to water and sanitation. From this last one, I'm going out of script here. I would like to start with the basic right of human beings to have access to water and sanitation. We are in a region, and I'm going to repeat my boss's words from a previous panel. Here where we are right now, only 8% of people have access to sanitation. And this is not a reality we can live with and be okay with that. And this is not at all possible to adapt to climate change when people don't have basic rights, access to basic rights. So that's the first commitment we have at ANA, with a new framework regarding access to water and sanitation. So for us, resilience begins with knowledge. We have developed climate impact studies for each of Brazil's nearly 500,000 mapped river stretches and for all of our 5,570 municipalities. These analyses identify where droughts, floods, and water stress are most likely to occur, helping national and local governments plan ahead and adapt. We also track SDG 6 indicators in detail with data by region, municipality, gender, and vulnerable communities. This allows us to focus decisions where they matter most, turning science into inclusion and data into action. Brazil's National Adaptation Plan, which was officially delivered yesterday, already includes a specific chapter on water, recognizing it as a cross-cutting issue. That's an important step, but we still need to better integrate water. Climate links into sectoral plans in agriculture, energy, infrastructure, and urban development. They are still weak in this very plan that was released yesterday. And this is where the Water Resilience Tracker, which used last year in Brazil, developed with the AGUA plays a key role. It provides a shared framework to strengthen coordination between ministries and make water resilience a connecting thread across national adaptation and development strategies. In phase one, we applied the tracker through 8 national plans across 553 criteria and 4 dimensions: climate, water, coherence, governance, sectoral connections, and finance. The results showed a strong alignment in water resources plan in the agriculture plan, but not in the others, including the sanitation plans, which is not very well linked to water and climate adaptation. Now in phase 2, we want to apply the framework at basin level and bring this to the local community, to the local perspective, to the local decision makers. And also we want to use this to help implement, in fact, breaking silos when implementing the National Adaptation Plan that was released yesterday. So we come here with a clear goal, which is to strengthen the understanding that water is centered to climate adaptation and that building water resilience means doing better and doing different to build social and climate justice. So thank you very much.
Obrigado. That was a wonderful intervention. Round of applause. I'm going to turn now to Ms. Kamila Abashova. She's with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Azerbaijan. I've also been told that we're on a little bit of a timeline, so if we could keep all the interventions to around 3-4 minutes tops. My question for you, you and I had a late evening last night with high level with the Baku Water Dialogue, which you were chairing, and my question for you is the compact that we're talking about now. It seems like there should be like a deep alignment with the Baku Water Dialogue, which is a way to keep continuity on water issues from one COP to the next. It's a new idea. It's a very important idea that came out of the COP last year. How is Azerbaijan leveraging this dialogue to drive innovative financing and reforms for climate resilient water and sanitation services? And what role does international cooperation play in that process?
Yes, thank you very much. I think I'm audible, right? Okay. So thank you very much. And I'm glad you think there should be an alignment. Closer? Okay. So there should be an alignment because there is an alignment.
Yeah.
Because there is an alignment already that we can see. So last year we launched this, we presented COP29 Declaration on Water for Climate Action, which in turn launched the Baku Dialogue Initiative and the Baku Dialogue Platform, which serves to continue talking about water at climate platforms to create space for action and for implementation of water considerate climate action. So this is very important. Water has been lacking in the climate platform for a very long time. It started to appear briefly at COP27, we decided to build on the legacy that was before us, and we galvanized the momentum. This declaration and the platform and the action on the platform itself rests on 3 main pillars. That is, the most important thing starts with cooperation and partnership. So we're calling for building partnership in the shared water basins specifically. This is very important, that countries that share water basins are actually talking to each other on jointly managing that scarce water resource. The second pillar is science action. That is knowledge generation. That is, in order to be able to manage something, we need to know what we are managing, and we need to have information on what we are managing to make it a proper action. And the third pillar that it is resting on is the policy action. That means when we are taking climate policies, it's not only limited to climate policies, but it also encompasses other frameworks, NDCs, NABs, biodiversity plans, other frameworks that might exist in the region or in the country. We make these considerations, we consider water in those actions. So these 3 pillars are led by 3 UN entities, being UNEP, and I tell you in the order of appearance. So being UNEP, WMO, and for policy action, we have UNEC that is leading this process. For the moment, we're raising funds for projects that we are aiming to implement under these platforms to really implement what we have promised in Baku. We have developed these 3 work streams that you were able to witness yesterday. The UN entities have developed the work streams on how they're going to implement action under this declaration. And I will leave it to Sonia maybe to also touch upon it if time allows. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, we have high hopes for the Baku Water Dialogue. And my another old friend and colleague, Sonia Koppel, she's the co-chair for the UN Water Expert Group on Water and Climate Change and secretary of the Water Convention for the United Nations Economic Commission of Europe. Sonia, the High-Level Leaders Compact as a contributing partner action under the UN Water system-wide strategy calls for greater cross-sectoral collaboration and enhanced risk awareness. From your experience, what are the key opportunities and challenges in aligning water security efforts with climate commitments at a regional and global level?
Thank you. So congratulations first to SWA for having launched the compact, which brings really the much needed political commitment to the topic of water and climate. I believe we need, in addition, or as part of also the several actions, firstly, we need coordinated action at global level with different initiatives. And here the UN Water and System-wide Strategy, which was launched 2 years ago by the CEB, is very important. And it includes also PCA 3, which is Priority Collaborative Action 3 on mainstreaming water into Rio Conventions. Here the compact contributes, but we and SWA and UNICEF actually have contributed to some of the actions in the past on the GGA, etc., etc. But beyond that, we aim to support the mainstreaming on the one hand through supporting existing mandates on water under UNFCCC, but also CBD and CCD, but also supporting new mandates and supporting policy actions on NDCs, integrating water into NDCs and NAPs. So if there are any concrete requests for support, please approach us. But the aim is to do this really as a collective effort within the UN system, together with those here and others who are not here today from the UN system. Another next point is, as mentioned earlier on, I think we need more and better and more targeted finance for water. And in my view, we need to break out of the water and go to the finance community and understand them. So, for example, the Sevilla conference and the Sevilla compromise is very important in this regard. It mentions water at least once. So I think we still have some work to do in the future. And several of our organizations, including us, also, for example, organized side events in Sevilla in July. We did for financing Transboundary Water Cooperation, but I believe we need to go a step further to actually support the water sector in really preparing bankable projects and accessing, for example, the climate funds, etc. And finally, we need to strengthen and use existing legal and intergovernmental framework already which exists. So on transboundary waters, for example, the Water Convention has provided such a framework for more than 30 years and has specific actions on water and climate, helping countries to adapt jointly to climate change and thereby more effectively and efficiently. And on more national water management and WASH, there is also the Protocol on Water and Health, a unique, legally binding institutional framework and instrument helping to implement the human right to water and sanitation through a more holistic management. Just last week in Budapest, we had the 7th session of the meeting of the parties with a high-level segment focused on resilience. And resilience is also the motto for the next 3 years of work under the protocol. And here I think that complements very well the compact because it actually aims to achieve the same objectives. So finally, to conclude, I believe we need integrated planning at national and also transboundary level. We need risk-informed systems in WASH and beyond that. We need to include and look not only at WASH, but water security more broadly, also at basin level, at transboundary level. We need equity and inclusion. We need better financing and accountability also for implementation and learning and scaling. Thank you very much.
Excellent. We really need the broader UN mobilized in this process, and we're grateful for you helping to give voice and clarity in that area. I'd like to now turn to Ms. Paula Polini. She's the Senior Researcher for Public Policies and Urban Planning at the Institute of Water and Sanitation here in Brazil. Ms. Polini, as a representative of IAS Brazil, a key civil society organization advocating for universal sanitation in Brazil, a real challenge in many parts of the country. How do you see the role of civil society as a complement to government efforts?
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank a lot for the invitation. I'm really honored. To begin, I would just say that we are an NGO, a civil society organization, since 2020, and we have been working to promote the universalization of access of water and sanitation in Brazil, monitoring and trying to influence public policies, building bridges among stakeholders, organizing data, and assessing, demanding transparency and participation in decision making. The whole of civil society is super important, and I'm honored to be here representing one, is exactly to monitor, to advocate and push forward integration between universalization of water and sanitation, something we really need, and it's something from the past, and adapt and make it close to the climate agenda. These two have been progressing in Brazil, but they still lack true integration. We agree with the results of the water resilience track that many of the instruments and plans that have been building and being reviewed, they lack this connection and the participation more strategic of the sanitation and water. For instance, we don't have in 12 sector plans one that really detail that bring the sanitation sector. It's really spread into many. Or another important instrument, the National Sanitation Plan that's been reviewed now, it really just appoints superficially the agenda of adaptation in sanitation. In Brazil, the sector have been changed a lot since 5 years, and we need really to make all these efforts to universalize the sanitation together. Now it is new and important challenger, and we have been trying to help to make these 2 points more concrete. Thanks.
Obrigado. A very inspiring message about how we cooperate at a much larger level. And for our final panelist, I'd like to turn to Rodrigo Guerrero. He's with Generación Clima, and also he's a grad student as well. And my question for you, Rodrigo, how can youth leadership and perspectives accelerate water resilience and climate action?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for letting young people speak in this kind of places with such incredible panelists. And I'm going to answer. I'm going to answer the question right away. If we want young leadership to actually make acceleration in the water scarcity problem, we need real youth leadership. And I'm not talking about not having enough young people interested in being leaders. I'm talking about people giving us the power and people giving us the responsibilities that we ask for. I think we all know that young people are quite good trained. We have skills such as artificial intelligence, computational scientists or skills in communications, in news medias, but we are not being taken serious. And I think that's because maybe people don't understand the most powerful skill that young people have, and that's our innovative minds. It's not about our experience, of course. As you said, we need now innovative ways of thinking to get to new ways of solving problems. For example, Albert Einstein, one of the most famous physicists, he made most of his most important investigations when he was in between 25 and 30 years old. For example, with the photoelectrical effect that now we can have solar panels thanks to that innovative idea. So what we are asking for is real listening of our voices. We don't want just to be a face in the panels, or we don't want just to be what now we call the just washing, the just figure, but without power or without real listening of our voices. And want to quickly finish, I'm from also the Young Water Professional Network. It's an international network. There's a lot also here in South America. We work next year in Spain. We will have the first Ibero-American conference in Madrid. So we'll be grateful to ask all the Latin American chapters to come to our conference. And as I am the young one and I'm the ambitious one, apparently, or what people said about us, I wanted to end with a request. I want you to do the work of thinking why water sector is not being able to catch new talent. Because, for example, in the Sanitation and Water for All meeting that I was able to attend in Madrid, a lot of countries were saying that there is not enough professionals in the water sector. So what are we not doing good in the water sector to attract this talent? That's my last request.
Excellent. We were expecting some closing remarks from a minister from United Arab Emirates. I've been asked to provide some remarks myself, but to do it very, very briefly. I'd actually like to say in this room that there's actually someone missing. I had a colleague. I was not in Madrid at the conference, but a close colleague and friend inside of Agua was there for us, and she talked about the feeling of grief of Caterina de Albuquerque not being there, and I have to think that the compact is her legacy. She is here with us, and she is in the compact, and it is what we're taking forward with her. Thank you all.